We'll call to order the meeting of the Haverford Township Zoning Hearing Board for Thursday, November 4th, 2021. Present at the front table to my far left is Jessica Vitale, a voting member. Seated next to Jessica is Ed McGargy, a voting member. My left, Bill Malone, our solicitor. My far right, Margie Buchanan, Assistant Code Director, and that's the title I'm giving you for tonight, Margie. Next to Margie is Kelly Kirk, the Queen of Codes Enforcement for the Township. Next to Kelly is Jesse Poynton, a voting member. To my right, Bill Rhodes, a voting member. And my name is Robert Kane, the Lone Ranger with the mask. All right, we have two new cases tonight, but before I call the first one, Bill, would you please lead us in the pledge?
Sure. Please rise if you can and repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. First case tonight is Z21-28, 2320 Haverford Avenue, LLC, care of Robert C. Jacobs, equitable owners of 2320 Haverford Road, Ardmore, PA, DC folio number 2206-0106901, who seek a determination that the use of the property as an e-commerce art gallery is permitted by right pursuant to section 182-403B1, and that the 11 off-street parking spaces comply with the parking requirements of section 182-707B. Variances from these sections are requested in the alternative, along with any other relief deemed necessary. Property is zoned C2 and located in the 6th Ward. Hey, Dom, how are you?
Very well, thank you. Ready for us? Okay, thank you.
Mr. Petrosa, before you start, I have reviewed the documents submitted and standing is appropriate, so you don't have to go through the litany on that.
Thank you very much. May it please the board, my name is Donald Petrosa, and I'm representing the applicant 2320 Haverford Avenue, LLC, which is the equitable owner of the property. And in our exhibit packets, which we'll be handing up, exhibit A1 will be a copy of the agreement of sale. So they're the contract purchaser under agreement of sale. The property is zoned C2 Neighborhood Commercial District, and on the property currently is a 2-story building with basement. The first floor is currently occupied by Snap Fitness. Mr. Lynn and I were here some 12 years ago to get relief from the zoning hearing board in order to put the Snap Fitness in, and the second floor is office space. Of course, the property is on Haverford Road, and it backs up to the railroad tracks. The variance in 2009 included the use for the Snap Fitness, and it also included multiple uses in the building because they were two separate operations, and parking as well. The C2 district allows by right a variety of uses, including convenience stores, standard restaurants, personal service establishments, takeout restaurants, and any use permitted in an O1 office district. There's a variety of uses in the neighborhood, and I'll let Mr. Lynn describe those. You don't need to hear both of us go over that. In the O1 district, the office or studio of an optometrist, photographer, magistrate, insurance agent, musician, masseur, artist, or practitioner of a similar character is permitted by right, and the O1 uses are incorporated into the C2 uses. So we're requesting, we're going to describe the use. It takes a little explanation because it's sort of a use that when your zoning ordinance was written, I don't think anybody was contemplating an e-commerce art gallery. And as we looked, I would have been surprised if I found it somewhere in the ordinance. As we looked through the ordinance, we couldn't find that. We actually couldn't even find a traditional art gallery. But we'll have some testimony describing exactly what the use is, because I think it's important that the board understands it. And the proposed use does have elements of a personal service establishment, which is one of the permitted uses, in that they do some framing. It's not a typical frame shop. They do framing for people who buy artwork there for the most part. So a little different than some of the more recent frame shops that have popped up. And it also has some similarities to office use in that The sales are primarily over the internet, they're online, they're by telephone. The vast majority, and we'll have the witnesses describe how that works. So some of those other uses that I mentioned, the optometrist and those other uses, many of those have some retail component to them. Optometrist sells glasses, photographer sells photographs, framing, and that sort of thing. So that's part of the reason, plus the fact that we can't find it anywhere else in the ordinance. And I think the general rule is that you try to interpret your ordinance in such a way that it is not exclusionary rather than that it is exclusionary. And I think a significant portion of the building would be used primarily for storage of artwork and related materials and other activities related to that. The proposed use is a low-impact use with very limited parking demand. Proposed use should have much less traffic and parking demand than the previous uses, the gym and the office use. The witnesses, I believe, will testify that the proposed use averages about 3 to 5 visitors a week. So this is not a retail establishment where people are just coming in off the street. And those people that are coming in by appointment. They have an appointment to come in. So the other issue in this case is the parking, and Bob will go over that in detail, but we think we comply with the ordinance in that for a use that's not specified and for a wholesale use, it's 1 per 1,000. We've got a little over, just a tad over 10,000 square feet, so it would require 11 parking spaces. We have 11 parking spaces. But perhaps just as importantly, that the 11 parking spaces are very sufficient for the business. You'll hear because of the low number of visits they actually get to the property. With me this evening are some members of the Eisen family, I-S-E-N. We have 3 brothers. It's a family business, and it's called Dane Fine Art, that is the name of the business. But it's Christopher with a K, who will testify. We're going to try to limit it to 1 if we can, unless there are questions that somebody else needs to answer. William and Patrick. So Christopher, William, Patrick. And then we also have Nicky Eisen, who is retired. He's the father of these 3 young gentlemen that run the business now. But he's still sort of can't help but be somewhat of a consultant to the business. And what we'd like to do, with your permission, is to call Bob Lynn as my first witness to describe the property, the improvements located thereon, the current occupancy, the surrounding premises, and a little about the proposed use and occupancy and zoning history of the property, and how we feel that the proposed use fits the zoning ordinance. Then I propose to call Christopher Eisen, one of the operators of the business, to go into a little more detail about how they operate and answer any questions that you might have about how the business does, in fact, operate. I've handed up personnel lists to the members of the board, and Bob Lynn put together some very nice exhibit booklets that I'm going to be handing up to you, so you can follow along with the exhibits. And as I said, A1 is a copy of the agreement of sale, and all the other exhibits that I think Bob will be identifying.
Just real quick.
Yes.
I just wanted to, I'm sure I know the answer to this, but they've done this before elsewhere. Is that?
I'm sorry?
They've done this before elsewhere?
Yes.
They've been engaged in this, so they have some experience in the field.
Yes, they've been in the art business for quite a long time, and a witness will testify to that. I think it goes back to the 1980s. Sometime in the 1980s, the business was established. So if it's okay with the board, I could ask the questions from here, and Bob could testify from over here. Does that work?
That's fine.
Okay.
All right. Please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
And your full name and the capacity in which you appear this evening?
For the record, Robert Lynn, L-I-N-N, architect, business address 1140 North Providence Road, Meadville.
Don, is Mr. Lin being offered as an expert in any particular field?
Yeah,
Or
yes, he's being offered as an expert in two fields. One is architecture. He is a registered architect. And also as an expert in zoning. He as he can indicate to you, has a firm, and he's the principal of the firm, and the firm does the zoning services for a number of municipalities. And Bob supervises all that. So he's got quite a lot of experience in terms of interpreting zoning ordinances and reading zoning ordinances. And I think he's previously
Yeah,
qualified.
if I could easily, I mean, I am the principal in architects, civil engineers, and code officials. And I've had the privilege of having that role for 39 years now. As Don indicated, we do cover the zoning services in places like Sharon Hill Borough, Collingdale Borough, we're the alternate in Chester Township. I am 27 years on the Nether Providence Township Planning Commission. I call it my 7th consecutive 4-year sentence with no time off for good behavior. I have authored zoning language in 3 municipalities. I've also been involved in 4 municipal comprehensive plans, including a multi-municipal comprehensive plan in Swarthmore Borough, Rutledge, Nether Providence. I've appeared in front of this board a number of times. I've been accepted as an expert by this board in the past on several occasions. I am registered in Pennsylvania and 24 other states. If you really can't sleep tonight, my CV is behind, I believe, applicants too.
Mr. Lin, or Bob, it's difficult for me to ask you questions when I know most about you. But when you've been admitted before this board, and I've had the fortune of being here for too many life sentences, you've had no changes in your capacity with the state. You've not been censured in any way, shape, or form, correct? Okay, but when you were admitted here as an expert in the past, it was as an architect, correct?
Well, it was admitted, I believe, in fact, for this case, in the past, 12 years ago, we actually worked in this building. I believe, and Don Petrosi was here, and Mr. McGarty and several others, I believe, were still here at that time. Usually the question is somebody involved in land development, architecture, and zoning. So, I mean, there are the 3 categories I spent my last 4 decades working on, and those have been the categories I've normally been accepted as an expert in.
Okay. Mr. Kane, I really don't have many questions. I think that while it's a broad-based category, whether it's zoning or land use, we have accepted land use experts before, we have accepted architects before, and Mr. Lin's experience does satisfy me in terms of his extensive experience in just zoning, I guess interpretation of zoning ordinances would probably be the best way to put that.
But that's not really an area of certification or expertise that we can qualify someone with. That's my view of it. So why don't we just,
Don, would you be okay with, as an architect and land use?
Yeah, we recognize that the ordinance is the ordinance, and ultimately, it's your interpretation, the zoning hearing board's interpretation that's going to govern. It's just that I think Bob will offer his opinion as to why he thinks it fits or doesn't, something fits or doesn't fit. But ultimately, it's up to the board.
well, we'll admit him as an architect,
Okay,
architectural expert. But
okay.
zoning is so broad, Don. I don't want to go down that path.
Okay. All right. Mr. Lin, Exhibit A2 in the booklet is a copy of your CV, is it not?
It is indeed.
Okay, and we've gone through that, so we don't need to go through that again.
I remember him from prior hearings. I've been the chairman for quite a while.
I realize it.
Has your firm been retained by the applicant to provide services in connection with this matter?
We have.
And would you please describe the property which is the subject of this application, being 2320 Haverford Road?
Yes, I will. Applicants 3 in your book, and again, these just all match as a larger version of applicants 3, is a site plan of the property. Obviously, on Haverford Road. It's in the C2 neighborhood district, neighborhood parcel, as Don has indicated. It's 9,210 square feet, exclusive right away. I say exclusive because the title line, like a lot of them, runs the center line of Haverford Road, but we can't really count that part of our land, so it's 9210 square foot. It is 115 foot of frontage on Haverford Road, and I'm just tracing that out. 75 feet deep on the west side, and because it has the septic tracks to the rear, it's got a railroad arc across the back. It has 86 feet deep on the east side. So the building itself, as you can see in yellow, occupies wall-to-wall east-west and touches the back property line on the septic tracks. So the building itself is 5,165 square feet per floor. It is a two-story building with a basement. And you can see again on applicant street, the 11 parking stations Mr. Petroza alluded to in his opening statement, including one accessible space with a transfer aisle. The entrance to the building is in the center, and these spaces are the type along this entire stretch. You see, you literally have to back out on the Haverford Road to access them. It's not an internal parking lot per se. We actually did the full renovation of this building back in 2009, so we were still sitting here. Don and I brought in the Snap Fitness practice on the lower floor, and brought in the office space for a medical company on the upper floor, and we needed certain relief at the time, including parking relief, and the board was kind enough to grant that relief at the time, and that's why for the last 12 years, Snap Fitness and the medical office, it's actually a medical exam service, have been in the building.
Okay. And do you have some photos of the existing property?
I do, and if you go through applicants 5, photographs A and B in your book. Actually, if you remember this building, it was pretty pathetic until 2009. I think we gave it a little bit of a facelift. We put the new drive facade on, the brackets, the red roof, and the aerial. You can tell where it is. You can see the red roof slice in front, and the new entrances across the front of the building, including reconfiguring stair towers on the east and west side of the building. Just A5A and A5B just give you photographs of the front of the building.
Okay. Bob, I'm not sure, we may have skipped over A4, the aerial. Is there anything else you wanted to say about the aerial?
I could probably use that as to describe the surrounding properties, Don,
Okay.
potentially.
All right.
So if I go back to A4, it's really a pretty good idea what the stretch of the roadway is. Again, you can see the little red dot on applicant's 4 is our building. You see the little red slice of roof. Immediately to the west is the Impervious Ale House. And immediately to the west of that is the Benjamin Moore store, and of course the septic parking lot, so you can see those properties to the west. The east side, we've got Fiji Nail, and then we have the Haverford Cleaners, and finally the bowling alley. The bowling alley is the black piece of roof just sticking on the edge of the aerial exhibit. That's pretty much the character. Across the street, of course, we've got residential properties on the other side of Haverford.
Is that multifamily residential across the street?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And are the flanking surrounding properties on the same side of Haverford Road also zone C2?
They are C2, and perhaps, Don, I did skip a little bit. I won't want to bounce around, but applicant 6 is actually photographs, if you will, what I just described, starting with the building immediately to looking down easterly on Haverford. First photograph, 6A. 6B is looking at the Fiji Nails and Spa immediately to the east. 6C, again, we have the Haverford Cleaners and the bowling alley in tan sticking behind it. 6D is McSorley's Ale House to the westerly side, the first property, and I left the corner of our red roof in so you could get the orientation. And then finally, the Riccardi Brothers Benjamin Moore Paint Dealership, 6E, and across the street, 6F would be the residential.
Okay, great. And what is the proposed use?
There are actually several uses, and frankly, they're all tied to this e-commerce auction facility. It's a use I haven't encountered before. It's new. I almost compare it to like when we were 20 years ago trying to figure out what mini storage at zoning hearing boards, because mini storage didn't exist in the ordinance at the time. We're now into something where we have all the electronic world showing up, and we have e-commerce. The associated activities, and I'm going to actually bore you by reading a little bit of A7 in a second, which is written by the applicant for what they are and their business is. It's an international level virtual forum art auction house. They also do art restoration, they do art and picture framing, so it has a little bit of over-encompassing with art being the underlying theme. If I could, you would allow me 1 second to read little parts, if you don't mind, of applicant 7. That is actually written by Christopher Isaacs, who's going to testify in a moment. And I don't normally read except for Mr. Haverford is in your exhibit book, so I'll speak slowly. Just quickly, I think this is important. This is the whole essence of the case. We are an art gallery with a huge international and domestic presence. There are online platforms similar to eBay that we sell our artwork on, standard for any art gallery to be on. The platforms we sell on are live auctioneers, invaluable auctions, ArtSite, eBay, BidSquare, two young words for this old guy here, First Picks, etc. This is a way of advertising and reaching more clients in the marketplace. We also advertise heavily online through social media. We sell artwork on these platforms, and then we ship the artwork we sell. We're in the business of selling limited edition prints by known artists, mostly they're dead artists, and sell artwork as an investment. Our typical clients are actively seeking items we sell and purchase these items without having to view them in person. To the earlier question, you've been in the art business since 1981, so I guess we're talking 40 years now at this point, if my higher math's any good. Over the years, the business has substantially changed. Originally, we were a retail art gallery, focusing on selling blue chip art to clients in the city.
Bob, just a little slower.
Little slower.
Just a little slower.
I'm sorry. I gave her a written copy. Okay, I'll slow down. In the city of Philadelphia, as well as tourists. Over the past 10 years, we have steered away from retail business and focused on online business. Occasionally, we have clients that come into the gallery from the area or who come to see us when they're in Philadelphia due to our reputation, since we've been in the business 40 plus years. However, over the past 10 years, on average we have 3 to 5 clients come to the gallery each week, which is done by appointment only. I think it's an important fact represented in the hearing by the applicant.
And Bob, I don't know whether this is for you or the applicant. Is the applicant willing to accept a condition as to a certain number of appointments either per day or per week?
I think it's part of the essence of the case, and I think that's certainly a discussable point, yes. The typical day-to-day consists of our employees coming to work, 4 of which are family members. I think you've met the family. We all live a mile apart from each other, driving together every day. We have a packer, framer, a matter, and people who help catalog and sort the artwork for these online platforms. We receive packages as well as repackage the artwork by reframing them for clients.
Bob, can you move over towards the mics a little bit?
Or for us. We ship FedEx Ground and Express as well as DHL for international package. We also require a small showroom to present the artwork so we can display some of the works to clients when they do come into the gallery. However, the building would act as a place to store the artwork, have a few offices for the employees. Currently, our offices are intertwined with our showroom, which would be the similar case since artwork can be hung virtually anywhere. And I'm going to testify in a minute that when they actually do eBay or any type of electronic art auction, they literally hang pictures on the wall behind their desk and they use the camera to focus in on the pictures because they don't need a specific showroom. So that's applicant 7 written by the applicant relative to their representation to us of their business.
Bob, do you know how many people were intended to occupy the building during the past decade following the zoning hearing board's approval in 2009?
Well, we proposed to this board at the time, I went back to my notes from 12 years ago, an office occupancy of 24 people, that's the second floor, 24 people, and the fitness studio to have 10 people at a time for a total of 34 people.
And this proposed use would occupy the whole building? It would just be one use, the e-commerce art gallery?
It is a singular use for both floors of the building, and they again have 10 individuals spread over 2 floors.
Do you know how many people they anticipate for the new use?
And again, per their statement of representation, the question, they're representing 3 to 5 people a week on average.
No, I'm talking about employees.
10 people.
Okay,
10 people,
okay.
And 3 to 5 visitors.
Okay. And so do you believe that the proposed use, if approved, would have significantly less or fewer visitors than the current use?
Just by the simple math, absolutely.
Okay. And I spoke in my opening a little bit, but where do you feel the use, if you do feel that way, fits into the zoning ordinance?
Well, the C2 district, as you're fully aware, is an interesting district. It has a series of uses by right in the C2 district, and it references other uses in the O1 district is also allowed. So it's kind of a combination, if you will, of a district and a second district. You know, C2, of course, covers convenience stores, standard restaurants, personal service establishments, takeout restaurants, and then it bounces to the O1 district. And in the O1 district, and that would be 182-302B, 1B, it allows the office or studio of an optometrist, photographer, a magistrate, insurance agent, musician, masseuse, artist, or practitioner of a similar character. So I would, looking at how this fits into that definition, close as I can find anywhere, I would, no pun intended, frame the picture of our use to be the following. I think that it has the character of a personal service shop in a lot of ways. And I think that matches. It comes to the framing of pictures and artwork. So it has a personal service shop character. It also has many of the components of office use. Obviously, office people sitting there, internet sales, working the phones, and working with the Zoom situation, other platforms in order to sell the work. It also fits, in my mind, you have an office or studio of various practitioners. It captures the tone of the business that's going to be there. But when you think about it, you know, an optometrist sells a retail component of glasses. You think about people that sell things as well as having a professional service. A photographer, he's going to sell some artwork as well as being a photographer. So I think it's kind of a broad artistic definition within the definition of the code under the O1 in particular.
I mean, most of even an insurance agent is selling something. It may be intangible instead of tangible, but they're selling, are they not? Right.
You guys hired good people. Keep going, Don.
Are you aware of any sections of the zoning ordinance, as you look through the zoning ordinance, to see if an e-commerce art gallery was a permitted use anywhere in the
My
district?
surprise, no. Again, I think this is a fairly new thing. They use the penny stores in comparison. I can't find anything in the zoning ordinance that's permitting this use. And of course, we know the zoning ordinance doesn't intend to be exclusionary.
Okay. And so we've requested an interpretation that the use is a permitted use under the ordinance, and as the board's aware, 601.3, 603.1 of the MPC, 603.1 of the MPC, Municipalities Planning Code, indicates if there's any doubt in the interpretation, it should be interpreted in the applicant's favor and against any greater restriction than is necessary. Now, Bob, obviously, if the board doesn't agree with our request that they make a determination that it's a permitted use, then we would be requesting a variance to permit the use. Is that?
I would be requesting we go the variance route and the alternative.
And the alternative, okay. All right. But it's, I think you did pretty much cover the parking, but explain the rationale for the number of parking spaces.
Certainly. Again, you know, to the point, there's not a large auction house. It's not a big room for auction. This is auctions being done virtually in smaller offices hanging behind people's desks. Most of this building is used for storage and warehousing and cataloging and shipping of the art process. So that's what they're looking to have here. That's why they like the size of the building. The parking, again, as Don alluded in his opening remarks, if there's a use not listed, in particular, was in fact similar to a wholesale use, and I would offer the board that it is because of the large amount of storage, what they're actually selling in the building. It's a parking space for every 1,000 square feet. The building has a total of 10,310 square feet, rounding up 11,000. That would be 11 parking spaces required at the 1 to 1,000 ratio. We do have 11 parking spaces on our property, and they are lined, striped, and marked and compliant in size, including one accessible space, because for up to 25 spaces, we certainly need the first one to be accessible and accessible as well. It matches all the constraints of zoning and the IBC.
So Bob, where would deliveries be received?
Deliveries can be received by pulling down this driveway, which is the common easement. There's actually a garage door at the bottom of that driveway. There's storage in the basement as well, so they would basically use this driveway, which has been used for deliveries all this time, and use the garage door in the basement to access the building.
Bob,
Deliveries run all the way down.
is it your understanding, and we can ask the witness who's
I have
an
a question.
operator, but I just wanted to, I think Bob knows the answer too. Their deliveries are primarily FedEx, DHL type trucks?
UPS, DHL, FedEx, and they're talking about, a minimal amount of deliveries a week. I'll let them give me more specific, or give you more on the frequency of those.
Bob, the other businesses that you've described in the area, do they have any more or less parking than the proposed?
I don't think anybody on this stretch has the requisite amount of parking to match today's zoning ordinance. I mean, I look at the ale house immediately to my west, and again, they have 8 parking spaces. We certainly know if we ran the code ratios, that would not match. So that's one of the difficulties on this stretch in general, with each one of the businesses up and down. I would suspect if we ran the code ratios, none would actually be compliant with the code ratios.
Do they have variances attached?
I do not have the ratio. I'm not certain. I know we certainly received a variance on this building 12 years ago. We couldn't produce 10,000 square feet adequate parking, especially at the time we needed 34 spaces.
And similar to the use issue, in the event the board didn't agree that 11 parking spaces was the required number, we would request a variance from
We would
to
build
permit
the
us to
variance
have
routine
11.
and alternative.
Yeah, the order.
Bob, are you familiar with the standards for variance?
I am familiar with those standards. I think you'll find those in section 182, 1004A1 of the zoning code. And they're very similar to, they almost mirror the language of the MPC for variances. I mean, they're not unique at all. And they basically have 5 points listed. I'm not going to read them all, but I'd like to touch on the highlights of those 5 points if it's acceptable. I think that's an important part of our burden of proof tonight. The first one is letter A1, and it talks about, this is interesting, unique physical circumstances or conditions, including irregularity, narrowness, or shallowness of lot sizes. That's written my case for a particular property. I mean, this is really unique, as all the properties are, as you saw in the aerial exhibit. These are all narrow, wide, and shallow properties. We're flanked on one side by Haverford Road, flanked on the back by the SEPTA Railroad. Everybody backs onto the roadway. It's not an interior parking lot because of the configuration. So I would offer to the board for consideration that this clearly is a unique lot. And it's funny because a lot of times uniqueness we argue on dimensional items. I would argue uniqueness of the lot size also goes to use. There's only certain uses you can legitimately put in these particular properties, parking being the driving factor. So if you think about it, on these long but shallow properties with limited parking, I would say that configuration, which we didn't create, so up to 0.5 it wasn't applicant imposed, dictates that there has to be certain flexibility in doing these parcels under the zoning code, simply because they're unique. They're not deep enough. So it's really a dimensional argument being applied to a use discussion.
You're checking every box, Bob. You're checking every box.
Well, I think that's my job, and I think I owe it to you to do that. But you have to admit, we usually use these dimensionally. It's really interesting for use at this particular point. I think it's applicable.
Interesting argument.
So we're not going to go on first part of case law because this is certainly use. The second is, because of the physical circumstances or conditions, that the authorization, I'm paraphrasing skipping parts, of a variance is necessary to enable the reasonable use of the property. I would say this is a reasonable use of the property. I go back to the 2009 case, and the board at the time felt that we were entitled to some parking relief because it was reasonable. The property couldn't be used legitimately without parking relief. This is, however, a step in the right direction because the parking imposed by this business is significantly less of an impact than the parking imposed by the current Snap Fitness in the office business. So I'm encouraged by the direction it's going. The other points in the specific points. Again, I mentioned we didn't create the lot, so we certainly didn't create the unnecessary hardship. This isn't us just walking in and creating this lot. So it's not created by the applicant. And I like the point that if authorized, not alter the essential character of the neighborhood or district in which the property is located, or substantially or permanently impair the appropriate use or development of adjacent property, not to be detrimental to public welfare. This, if anything, is a step in the right direction. We are reducing parking load. We did something nice in 2009 with a facelift that really helped a lot. These are not the most pristine properties up and down the stretch because they have some stigmas. But I don't see in any capacity our request today to be altering the essential character of the neighborhood. If anything else, we're blending into a very eclectic group of businesses. But I think we're blending into a compatible. So those are basically the standards and definitions of proof under the zoning code of your township and under Pennsylvania law as well. Very consistent.
Bob, is there anything you wanted to add?
I always want to add something. Short-winded occasion.
Is there anything you feel you must add?
Yes, I think it's
Okay.
important. I actually could very quick little closing if you don't mind. Again, I've kind of mentioned this stretch of Haverford Avenue is very eclectic. It's got a really myriad use of businesses. It's got about everything you can ask for, except we don't yet have an electronic art auction gallery. We're going to bring one of those along to round it out. I mentioned the size of the lots. I mentioned the parking challenges of the stretch. I think the use actually matches and is easily compatible with the definitions under C1 and C2 and O1. I think you could interpret it as being such. I really think it matches some of the characters of it. I don't find this listed anywhere else in the zoning code. And as I've said in discussions with a couple zoning officers recently, you know, we're in a strange building environment. And I'm watching this across the board, all the places we participate. I'm watching media borough in the process of writing language for zoning, recognizing the upper floors of offices just aren't repopulated. It's not happening. So they're writing some language I'm helping with to create some flexibility for residential uses over office, the office district of media borough. Businesses are not coming back to retail, and they're not coming back to office space. So I think as planners, we're all planners, let's face it, in a way. I think as planners, we have to have a more creative look-see, interpretation, and flexibility for looking at zoning in order to not have vacant properties. I look at who else could come to this building as it's sold. I mean, it's not exactly a building that has a lot of parking to support it. I think these are the kinds of interpretations that the groups need to look at in zoning codes. I'm seeing language changing in Upper Providence Township, in Media Borough. Middletown's considering language changes just because of the challenges we have. And these challenges are not going away. They're with us this day.
Well, it's very diverse too, Bob, because you have Amazon opening up distribution warehouses, and you really need to be able to differentiate those higher volume type businesses where they're going to accept returns from customers from a business like this. So it seems like a big job to really draft the codes correctly.
Oh, no, it is.
I think we're all starting to take a hard look at them as a result of what we're seeing out there. So I'm just offering that as a thought, just doing so much planning and zoning, even though I was not accepted as an expert in the field. But
Sorry, you can't have it all.
So I think that's about all I have to offer. I'm certainly here for questions now. I'm here all evening, of course, for other questions. I'll leave it to the board's preference if they'd like to ask me questions now, or rather hear the second and only other witness this evening. That would be maybe more appropriate. I'll leave that up to you.
Yeah, well, I'll ask Jessica, do you have any questions for Bob?
I do. I was wondering if you could tell me the square footage of the storage area.
And down below,
Yeah.
it's a full footprint of the building. So the 5,200 and some odd square feet of the upper floors matches the lower floor. I say that there is a stair tower on both sides, so that square footage probably 400 square feet in total off of each floor for stairways. It's exactly the full floor.
And will the storage happen on any of the upper 2 floors as well, or
Yes,
just in the
there'll be
basement?
significant amounts of storage on the upper 2 floors.
Okay, do you know about how much?
In discussions with my client, and we haven't finished the architecturals because obviously we're hoping this board sees fit to either accept our interpretation or grant variances. At least 3/4 of the building will be storage. So the remaining portion will be, office space or some packing work, some shipping work, but they're counting on this building to have a significant amount of storage.
And you mentioned that there would be a small showroom. Is that going to be, part of this said that it's within the office, but is there a separate area where art will be staged
would be-
outside of the office?
It would be on the first floor in some capacity. Again, they only have visitors by invitation. And again, on the record, on average, current 3 to 5 visitors per week. So it would be something small within the first floor that if they were to greet somebody and show them a piece of artwork. I was trying to differentiate. It's not a big auction house where you come and people are holding up numbers. It's very different than that in the operation of the business.
And this may be a question for the owner once they testify, but are any events ever hosted in the showroom, maybe outside of business hours?
I would rather let them testify because I don't know if I know the specific. I'm led to believe no, but again, the showroom isn't that big. It's more like art lining rows.
Okay, thank you.
Ed?
Yeah, the record was a little bit bobbled in my mind anyhow about the number of employees. I heard 10, but I thought that was only 5 employees or?
It would be 10 because there's four family members related. They have a packer, they have a shipper, they have some people cataloging art. So their employee count is 10.
Employees, okay.
Correct.
The issue is it going to be the entire building so there won't be multiple uses of different businesses in this?
Singular use for both upper floors as well as the basement. One owner, one business.
That's all I have for Bob.
Bill?
Hey, Bob. So if you have 11 parking spaces and one of them is handicapped accessible, I realize that carpooling works on some days, but some days it doesn't. If there are 10 employees on site and I'm assuming that you will use your parking spaces for employee parking?
That's correct.
So where would someone park on the day when all 10 spots, if they're not handicapped?
Well, I mean, I think we're going to have to get a little creative. That's not saying all 10 are there on a given day either. I mean, it's not necessarily, everybody comes to work on the same day. I think this is certainly going to find a spot somewhere. Again, we actually studied this property in 2009 in detail, and I remember going up and down both sides of Haverford Road, looking at parking on the street, and there was a lot of parking on the opposite side of Haverford Road in parallel spaces. We took photographs on numerous days. It wasn't all occupied or used. If I was looking to find another dozen spaces, I'd be nervous. I'm looking to find one. I'm not even sure I'm full in the first place. I'm not nervous at all. There also is the ability someone can pull into this driveway if they have to. If they know, don't forget, they're coming by appointment. So if they know they're coming by appointment, there's no reason that one of the owner's cars could simply be parked in the driveway, to free up a space on the front of the building.
Well, how many cars could stack in that driveway?
2. You can maybe get a third in the driveway. So it's available. Again, I'm also representing, I'm going to use it for delivery. So I think this is one of the few businesses I can represent to this board. I'm not nervous about parking because of the way it's structured. It actually works.
We will have a little more testimony from Christopher about parking. He knows how many of his employees typically drive to work and do not, and so forth.
Does McSorley's take deliveries on through that same alley?
I do not believe they do because they don't have any access into their building, I don't believe, from that alley. But I don't want to represent that, emphatically.
And so what are we talking about for, I'm not so, well, you testified that there's certain, and some of the written materials that were submitted talk about framing and then matting, framing, shipping. So approximately how many shipments come and go each day? How many auctions are held each, well, I guess the auctions are constant, right, because they're online and live?
I would do a better job of giving you good facts by letting the next gentleman
Okay.
probably present those to you. You know, I know what I've heard, but I don't want to speculate and give you bad information. I think he'll do a much better job at presenting.
Okay, then I'll wait for the rest of my questions. Thank you.
Yes. Could you describe any potential or proposed changes to the facade? Would there be any?
I think we're going to take down the sale sign. And applicants,
5A?
I'll probably change the name Snap Fitness to their business. Beyond that, frankly, unless you absolutely hate my facade from 12 years ago, I think it held up reasonably well. I don't have any real reason to change the facade.
So, in relation to the signage, would there be a new sign for the new business in a similar scale as the existing Snap Fitness sign?
Well, the sign would have to be compatible with your zoning ordinance, so we'd be standing back here with our hat out again, asking for relief for a different sign. I cannot tell you if that Snap Fitness is or is not compliant with zoning ordinance. It looks fairly appropriate for the building. I'm not sure what the square footage is allowed in this district.
Yeah, we haven't quite gotten that far yet. We've got a contingent agreement of sale, and we're trying to find out if the use is going to be permitted.
It has to be that big so I can plug up the holes and those lights on there.
Right. The existing glazing in the photo at least looks fairly dark. Is that just the photograph, or is it transparent glass?
It has some kind of a film on it. I mean, it's a little bit darkened if I recall.
Was that done for kind of a privacy for the fitness center?
It's just done to make the building look a little nicer. And I'm looking at the second photo. I see some reflection in it, but it's definitely got some type of a tinting on it. When you think about the way this building is sited in space, it's actually a north exposure, so I don't think it's done for solar gain. But, again, we added the accessible ramp. You can see in applicant's 5B, the ramp, the transfer aisle next to the ramp, and then the steps back in 2000.
So I guess where I'm going with the questions about the glazing is that the testimony of most of this use being storage, I'm just concerned about seeing a bunch of storage in the windows.
Somebody invented any blinds. We have to put some blinds on the front, we obviously will, and obviously, if there are office spaces in the building, they're gonna migrate towards the window wall versus the tracks where there are no windows in the back. So, I would say the people spaces would be in the front, and I would say the storage would, the predominance of which the building is would be to that. And of course, we can do window treatments. If the board sees fit to work with us on this and has a condition that there's no large quantities of paintings or anything stored that are visible from the street, we have no issue with that.
Yeah, I have no other questions. Thank you.
That's it.
I think your questioning made my client run to the men's room.
Okay,
So,
that's all right.
no, no,
Let's go off the record too, Ed.
there he
Coming
comes.
back. He's coming back.
We had to
Gotta go.
revive him. It's just-
Chopper. Not alive, but live. All right, we'll resume the meeting of Haverford Township Zoning Hearing Board. All right, Dom, you have a witness that you want to call?
Yes.
Christopher?
Christopher Eisen, Christopher with a K.
Right. Please raise your right hand, Christopher. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
And your full name and the capacity in which you appear this evening before the board, please?
Christopher Stern Eisen. I'm the finance director of Dane Fine Art. I'm speaking on behalf of my family and our business.
Okay. Go ahead, Dom.
Yes, is Dane Fine Arts a family business?
Yes, it is.
And how long has your family been in the art business?
Our father started the art business in 1981.
And would you please describe what the business is today?
So, when we mentioned that we, steered away from retail business, it's because we sort of had no choice. That's sort of where the market industry lent itself for us to do. So we started an online auction business, when I graduated college 10 years ago. And I'd say 99% of our business is done online and 1% is done in person.
All right, and I don't think the board needs an explanation of the various technical, the platforms and so forth. You mentioned several in your.
Online is enough.
When the clients do come in, is it by appointment, Christopher?
Well, it's not like formally by appointment. It's by appointment because they're buying things online. So they, set up a specific time to come in to either see what they purchased or if they want to view the piece in person. But, sometimes someone could knock on the door and ask to come in. Maybe they have a picture they want framed or they want to see, what we have in the gallery. So that's why we would have like a little showroom to show them the artwork.
I'm not saying that you would agree that you would not frame a picture for someone who came in like that, but is that your business right now?
That's not the main focus of our business. Everything is done online. We sell the art online on multiple platforms, and then we repackage the artwork. We do framing for ourselves. That's why we can offer it to our clients at wholesale costs, and then we ship out the artwork for them.
Now, some of the smaller frame shops that just do framing, you'll go in and they'll have 75 varieties of frames. Do you have that at your store?
No, so if someone wanted something framed, we would send them to our supplier website. They would take a look at the frames and order it, online, and then we would get it in prefabbed and we would just fit it in for them.
What days of the week is the art gallery normally open?
So we're open Monday through Saturday, Monday through Friday, 11 to 6. Saturdays, we go in around 12 and leave at 4.
And how many people are employed in the business?
There's 10 of us.
And how many employee vehicles are driven to the gallery on a typical day?
So we're in a unique situation because me, my 2 brothers, we all live about 1.5 to 2 miles apart. So we do carpool, which is, our wives don't always agree with it, but we do. So, typically maybe one of us will have to drive in separately, but on occasion, we all drive in together. So we only take up 1 or 2 spots, and then we have 2 employees who drive, and then the rest take public transportation.
Is the fact that the train is right there, was that a plus for you in looking at this property?
Yeah, that's a huge bonus for us. That's why this building works, because we've had employees who've been with us for 10, 12 years, and in order for them to, move in this endeavor with us, they needed that public transportation to get to us.
Why? Do some of them take the train to work?
They take the train or the subway, or they
How many?
ride their bike.
How many would you say take the train, Christopher?
I would say half.
And do they all work at the same time? Are they all full-time? 2 questions.
Yes.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Okay. Do you receive and send packages via FedEx or DHL or similar carrier?
Yes, we do. So once a day they come, they pick up, what we have ready for them, and they drop off what they're delivering.
Now, is that primarily artwork?
Yes, it is.
Will the 11 existing parking spaces be adequate for your needs?
Absolutely.
In addition to the sales of artwork and the framing, do you also do some restoration of artwork for your clients?
Yes, we do, because we have an in-house restorer for us, because with all the artwork, when you're buying from auctions all over the world, everything's framed unarchivally and everything needs to be restored in some capacity. So we have someone who's worked with us, not on site, that we source all of our restoration for. So we can offer that to, our clients.
Okay. And I think you told me that where you are currently, you had your office and the paintings that are hung on the wall, or the artwork that is hung on the wall, are all in the same room, like one big room?
Yeah, so right now, the way we're set up, all of our desks are next to each other and we all feed off each other. It's like a momentum situation. So I envision in this new space, it'd be a very similar situation because we all sort of hang out in our desks and there's just art hung all around us.
But you will have art displayed on the walls, as
Yeah,
you
of
said in your
course, because
statement.
art
you-
can be displayed virtually anywhere,
Okay, great.
so.
Is there anything you would like to add?
Yes, I have a couple things. So I just want to reiterate, we are a family business, and I do feel deeply connected to the community. We are sixth generation in Philadelphia, which is amazing. It's very hard to leave Philly. My sister-in-law, Patrick's wife, actually is a second grade teacher at Linwood Elementary. She just got a job this year, and we're very proud of her. We're all, newly married with young children, and this is like a means to an end for us. It gives us the ability to be closer to our families, help our wives raise our children, so we're not, too far away from them in case there are emergencies and things like that.
That's all I have.
Jesse?
Could you just, if I already asked a few questions about the exterior, the windows, could you describe any further vision you have of how you might, treat the exterior of the building or the ground floor windows, like if there'll be art displayed in them or any kind of signage on the outside of the building?
I mean, signage, we'll replace the Snap Fitness signage with Dane Fine Art, maybe our phone number, way to contact us. I'm not a sign expert. I haven't really thought that far. In terms of displaying art in the windows, not really. I don't think you can really tell anyway on Haverford. I think we have a big presence already, so we're hoping that our reputation, sends people to us, or we'll advertise and make it known that we do exist and we did move. So.
And would you accept a condition that storage, I'm thinking like, racks and boxes, et cetera, would not be like stacked up against the windows?
Yeah.
Okay.
That doesn't make sense because we would like the natural light and we want our space too.
No other questions?
Bill?
Hey, Christopher, where's your offices now?
We're looking at 606 Spring Garden Street
Okay.
in Philadelphia.
And do you guys have signage now outside?
We do.
I'm trying to figure out what's the purpose of your signage outside, considering how little foot traffic you expect to generate and.
I just think you still have to be relevant. I mean, we are part of the community. People are curious what exists. We have to make it known that, we do exist and, we want to help out the communities with their basic framing needs if they need it, or if they have restoration needs, or if they need guidance in the art world. We're not going to turn down anyone from the community who has questions about art.
The 3 to 5 people per week, is that largely people who are coming to pick up artwork that they've purchased online?
Yeah, just like for instance, this week, a family friend who just redid his house made an appointment, picked out a couple things of art. We had one client picking up art that he had purchased. We had another, today we didn't have anyone in the gallery. So I guess it all depends, but on average, we might not have for 2 weeks straight someone coming into the gallery, and then the next 2 weeks we might have 1 or 2 people a day, or maybe 1 person a day, or 1 person every other day. It just depends. Our phones could ring. Someone could say, "Hey, I'm passing through. I'd like to come see what you have." So it all depends.
I realize that 606 Spring Garden and 2300 block of Haverford Road are a little different from a density point of view, but at 606 Spring Garden, how many people just knock on your door and say, I need a new frame, or can I just come in and look at the art? Maybe I want to buy something.
Not many, and to be honest, like people who do come in, they're not really art educated, and quite frankly, sometimes we don't have time to take someone through and show them. So we'll, show them our website and then, go from there to see if they have any other questions, because we're all busy with our roles. So sometimes when you're screening 100 phone calls, it's difficult to, take someone through who, isn't even interested in buying art.
Right. And in the public space for this building, so presumably not the storage space, but in the public space, how many pieces of art are actually hanging up or, visible? So if someone did come in, are we talking 100 pieces or 400 pieces or 40 pieces? Do you know about? I mean, at least in your
I mean,
current.
I can't really, I have no idea. I mean, it depends, right? We're doing an art show in Art Basel, so we're doing 2 shows actually. So right now we have things, we're getting ready for the show. So we have about, 150 pieces that are just framed or we're looking to get framed and thinking about the show. And our space now is, 13,000 square feet. So, I just envision having a lot of things stored properly and methodically, and then having, nice show space to show some art. Because at the end of the day, we're sitting down in our offices and we want to look at good art.
I don't have any other questions. Thank you.
All right, Christopher, are you guys gonna have any artist showcases or anything?
I mean, we've done one show, since I've been working there for 10 years, and it was with Ringo Starr, and we actually did it in New Jersey. We also have a building that we own in Philly, and we have a retail space there on 116 South 19th Street. So we also did a Beatles show there. And,
Is that,
yeah, it's like right next to La Colombe or Rachel's Deli, or the Harbor, the Harbor. So, I mean, for foot traffic, that's our strategy. We're going to have a retail location in Philly, so we'll still be current in Philly because we've been there for 40 years. And then this will be home base for me and my brothers to settle down and make our deals. And
are you gonna keep the Philly locations at all, any of them?
yes.
Which?
So, I mean, it depends, because we own 2 buildings in the city. So one's on Walnut Street that's rented out, so we're thinking about that on 1919 Walnut Street. And then the one on 116 South 19th Street just has better frontage, so we might keep that space too.
Okay. Ed?
Yes, we're sort of going around the subject, and I'm not really clear. Will the art be of all types or just paintings?
Well, we specifically specialize in limited edition prints by known artists. So it's essentially, we could be selling postage stamps, but it's limited edition prints, signed pieces of paper, like by Andy Warhol, Keith Haring, Roy Lichtenstein, Marc Chagall, Picasso. It's all blue chip secondary artwork.
So would it be a condition you would accept that you wouldn't sell large-scale pieces such as sculptures and statues and?
I mean, we don't sell life-size sculptures or statues, but we do sell Erte bronzes, which are this big, that can be boxed.
Yeah, see, that's where I'm getting into. I'm having trouble dealing with whether or not this is an art place or a shipping and warehouse. How much, when you talked about 400 pieces of art coming in and out for a given event going somewhere, you're going to be loading and unloading, and I don't know that your facilities allow.
I didn't say 400, I said 150, and we're doing 2
Okay, good.
shows.
But that's still quite a bit of volume. Thinking, you would imagine crates and stuff you would pack up.
No, we don't use crates or pallets. We box and ship, and if we ever loaded art for a show, we would load it in one of our vans and drive it down. Like we have one of our employees who's taking the auto train with all the artwork down to Florida. And it's literally like a half a day situation trying to get it together.
Okay. See, it's hard to envision this because we're not getting a clear picture and trying to figure out how we can protect the use of this property and limit it so it doesn't get to be bigger to the point where it becomes e-commerce can be, like Bob mentioned, Amazon. That's e-commerce.
I mean, I wouldn't compare us to Amazon. We're a small family business. I think our business has grown because we've spent 10 years building a brand. And my goal is, I hope it does grow even more. But we do have other locations. We have 7,500 square feet out of Philadelphia that me and my brothers own on 1919 Walnut Street. And then we also have this other property, you know, right down the street, which is another 1,500 square feet of showroom space.
Okay, well, help me with restrictions that you would be able to accept that would sort of limit what can be done at this location. I'm not, that when you said something about having an art show, I'm not, that's a little different than what we're being brought here tonight. to
But
use.
I think
we're
what
not planning
I
on.
think what he was talking about is they take the pieces to another location.
He did say that, but he also said he had one. So I want to be clear on the record that you would accept a restriction that you couldn't have art shows, fundraisers, or other events at this facility?
You know, I wouldn't want to limit myself, you know, into the future because this is a big investment for me and my brothers. And, you know, like it was mentioned before, it's not such a good investment building, but for us, we think it's a perfect building that we could be in for the next 20 to 30 years. But, you know, if there were restrictions of not having fundraisers and art shows, I think my wife would be very happy about that 'cause she wants me home every day at 4:30.
Just one minor point. Some of the other businesses in the area, take McSorley's, for example. You know, they typically, they've got a Halloween party they had just recently. They've got karaoke going on. I really think that this use will bring far fewer people than almost any other business that's along that strip.
Except we're not here to talk about them, and I don't know what was there prior to McSorley's. It was already a restaurant, so they had the ability to do some of those things.
But my point is that they're going to be compatible with the neighborhood, and they're not going to bring more people there than the existing uses are already bringing to that area.
And I just want to, you know, set the record straight. We don't do art shows in our space. It's just not what we do. Not our main focus of business.
So that's a little inconsistent with what I heard, because I heard that you didn't want to limit yourself, and I'm asking you for limitations so we have comfort in what can occur at this facility and what's going to occur at this facility. And so will you not have it, or will you accept the condition that you will not have those type of activities?
Sure.
Okay, that's good.
Is that it, Ed?
Well, I guess
I mean,
he wants to clarify.
if we don't have to go with a restriction, it would be preferred because I do think that would limit our chances of growing and being involved in the community. Because I do think we are a good asset for the community and we could help fundraisers and we could help neighboring businesses like parking in our facility after hours because we only use our parking lot till 6. So, you know, at the end of the day, I don't want to limit our ability to do something special for the community if I think it's necessary for us going forward in our business.
Okay, but you are limiting yourself in the fact that the property only has 11 parking spots. So having big events where 30, 40 people can come at one time is against the testimony that only 5 people come a week. That's the part I'm trying to get at.
I mean, if it ever were to happen, it would be like a once a year or once every 5 years situation.
Okay.
It wouldn't be an everyday occurrence.
Thank you. It's on the record. Thank you.
I mean, I'm sure there's ways of getting valet parkers for events of that. I'm sure we could get valet parkers and figure out a situation, you know, with the neighboring, you know, with our neighbors, since we'd be nice to let them use our parking spots all the time, that we could figure something out.
Is that it?
Yeah, that's it.
Jessica?
I just wanted to clarify that you said the art restoration is not done on site.
Correct.
And do you ever plan to move that on site
No.
in the future? Okay. And then you testified that you get deliveries from DHL and FedEx once a day. Is that for each company, or do you typically have one delivery per day?
It's for each company.
Okay.
But some days DHL doesn't come because we don't have international packages. And some days UPS doesn't come because we don't have, you know, someone shipping us something UPS.
Right.
It just all depends.
Okay. But the maximum,
But on average,
on
that's
average, they'd
how
each
it
come
is.
once a day.
Correct.
Okay. I have no further questions.
Can I just ask one question, Chris?
Sure.
In addition to you selling through online auctions, do you buy art at this, would you be buying art at this location, and would those people bring the art to you? So, you know, they pull the painting off their wall or their print,
Yeah.
they walk in
of-
and they
of
say, would you buy
course,
this?
Of course.
Okay, so there's some two-way traffic. It's not just people coming in to pick up stuff they've already purchased, but maybe there's some people who come in.
No,
to sell-
correct. And then
that
some
you
people
buy.
might want to consign their art
Or
in the
consignment,
area.
right,
Or some
okay.
people might have a question about their art, or their grandmother died and they, you know, need advice on what to do.
And just from an order of understanding how many people that might be,
Well, we try to vet, you know, what people are bringing in, so they'll email us, and if it's, you know, something not so good, you know, we won't waste their time or our time.
right?
We are conscious about COVID. You know, our father has leukemia, and we all have little children at home, so the less people coming in at this time, the better for us, especially if it's something that's going to waste both of our time.
So how many people do you think come in to sell art to you in a given month?
I mean, this week, one person came in. Last week, two. The week before that, none. On average.
Thank you.
Anything else? Jess?
No.
Ed?
No.
Jesse? Good. Bundle?
Yep.
Okay, I have nothing else.
Okay, thank you very much.
Go ahead, Don.
We would just move for the admission of our exhibits, and
Okay,
that's our
you're
case.
admitted. Anybody else have any unanswered questions before I close the record on this? No? And nothing else you'd like to add, right, Don?
No.
Okay. With that, I'll ask if there's anyone present that received regular mail certified mail that wishes to testify. Anyone present that received regular mail? Any other residents of Haverford Township? Seeing no show of hands, we'll close the record on this case and we'll do a decision this evening, and if possible, if not possible this evening, then at our next regularly scheduled meeting on November 18th. Okay.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thanks.
Sean and Kimberly, I presume? Okay. You know if they have exhibits.
Thanks for the time tonight.
Good to see you.
Thanks for serving.
You want this for you to remark exhibits?
It's not gonna take that long, do you?
And take us off the record. Bill's gonna go help them mark their exhibits.
Go off.
All right, our next case is Z 21-29, Sean and Kimberly Patel, owners of 141 Shawnee Road, Ardmore, PA, DC folio number 2203-0195400, who seek a variance from the provisions of section 182-204C4 to exceed the allowable 2,686 square feet of building coverage by 84 square feet, and from the provisions of section 182-204C5B to encroach into the required 40-foot primary front yard setback by 2 feet, 2.14 inches, or is that 2.14 feet? 2.14 feet, and into the required 30-foot secondary front yard setback by 15 feet on a corner lot. Property is zoned R2 and located in the 3rd Ward. So, and I need to do that, what I just did again for the record, so we have Sean, are you going to be the primary presenter?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll swear you in.
Okay.
Then we'll identify your exhibits.
Okay.
And we'll proceed from there. So please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
And your full name and address for the record, please?
Yes, I do. Sean Patel, 141 Shawnee Road, Ardmore, Pennsylvania, 19003.
Okay, and our solicitor was kind enough to assist you with pre-marking exhibits. If you have those exhibits handy.
Yes.
And you'll walk through them real quickly. You'll
Yes.
have A1, and what is A1?
Yes, so A1 is a zoomed-in survey plan, which shows our existing home and the proposed sunroom that we'd like to build. And it also shows the location of our home with regard to the plot and the shape of the plot.
Okay, and A2 is a photo.
A2 is a photo of the front of our house, specifically on the right-hand side where our existing covered side porch is, and that would be where we'd be asking for a variance to build a covered sunroom.
Is there an A3?
No, it's not.
Just 2? Okay. So please tell us about what you would like to do and why, Sean.
Sure. Yeah, thank you very much for the time tonight. Thank you to Marge to help me get this packet together in all the right forms. So basically what we're doing, my wife and I, Kim, we have an existing side covered porch, which is original to the house. What we would like to do is build an enclosed sunroom in that space. Right now, we're applying for a variance. We feel there's a hardship due to the nature of the placement of our home within the lot and the shape, the irregularity of the lot. We can't build this room in strict conformity as the code reads. The house is, I guess this specific part of the house is already in non-conformance with the code for the 15-yard secondary yard setback. And with regard to the front setback, the front of our house is actually 5 feet encroaching already. So we're only asking for 2 feet, even though a portion of our house is already 5 feet within the setback. And the last part is, given the sort of the minimum requirements we have for the room, we would be going over the square footage by 84 square feet, bringing it to 20.6%. I wrote in the write-up for the board, if you had a chance to take a look at it, we understand why impervious coverage is important, and we wanted to note that this is, we feel it's a reasonable overage, and in addition, we planted close to 90 vegetative plants, which help with the important aspects of erosion, water runoff, and we don't feel that this structure would alter the character of the neighborhood, which I know is important. And hopefully if we get the relief, it's basically the minimum requirement that we need to build it, and hopefully get the variance approved.
Okay. Sean?
Yep.
So you're going to be eliminating the impervious coverage under the porch, right?
Yeah, so that's going to go away, and then we'll build a little bit more. So in the footer diagram, they have to, right now it's just a concrete pad. So they'll remove that, put the footers in and make it a little bit bigger, which that's where that 84 square foot ask.
How much bigger will the pad be for the sunroom than the existing pad?
So the existing pad is approximately 9 feet from the side of our house. If you look at exhibit A1. On A1, there's a green striped box, if everyone can see that.
I see it.
That's the existing pad. That goes out approximately 9 feet into the setback. So we would be proposing going an additional approximately 6 feet, which would get us to 15 feet of secondary front yard setback.
I didn't mean to interrupt you. Are you done with your presentation?
Well, so I wrote this. I feel kind of silly just rereading this, but it's just my write-up that I submitted to the
If
board.
that makes it easier for you, you can read it.
No, that's all right. I don't want to take everyone's time. It's basically, I tried to condense what I wrote.
Don't worry, we're good.
Yeah, I mean, I think basically it's just, from our property, it's impossible for us to do anything with that space without getting into the necessary setbacks. It's already in the setback. We're asking for a slight additional relief on the 15 to the secondary side, and then 2.14 feet for the front, as well as the square footage. But we hope, due to the circumstances, the hardship that we're proposing, or that we believe we have, with the non-conforming lot, the irregular shape, Huntington Lane curving in towards our house. It'd be ideal if Huntington Lane was perfectly perpendicular with Shawnee. It would make our lot bigger, as well as if our house was placed in a more, at 90 degrees to the roads, as opposed to, it's a little bit, for lack of a better word, cockeyed, which creates non-conformity to begin with. And we don't feel that you can't really even see where this room would be. I didn't make copies of it. I have an additional picture I can pass out to the board of what the vantage point from the back of our house looks like. But yeah,
So is there anywhere on your lot that you could put this sunroom and have it be in conformity with the codes?
no.
Okay. And is this the minimum size that you need to have a functional room?
Yes.
And what's the purpose of this room?
So we have 3 boys. Basically, it's a 3-season room where we can hang out, spend time. It's not, we don't have white couches per se, but we're trying to avoid all the boys and their friends in the house all the time, every day. So this would be kind of a nice side patio where we could hang out, have friends, family from the neighborhood over.
Bill?
Hi, Patel. So I just had a couple questions, and
Sure.
so currently, the front of your house encroaches into the front yard.
It does.
Setback,
Yeah,
right?
yes.
And it currently encroaches probably what I'm guessing is close to your front door.
Yes.
The most, right? And based on the depictions, it's a little hard, but it looks like there's approximately 34.6 or 8 or something feet
Yes.
right from the property line, or from the, I guess it's the property line, but certainly from the edge of the right-of-way to your front door.
Yes,
correct?
exactly.
And in the extension that you're building, that you would like to build, which is just a couple feet, it would not extend even that much into the front yard setback. Is that right?
No, you're correct.
And so you would go from, while the shortest distance from the front yard setback is 34 feet and a few inches currently, the proposed addition would be 37.86, right? So
yes.
it's closer.
Yeah.
Okay. And, but it does go approximately, what, maybe 2 feet closer to the street than the current porch? Looks-
Yeah, yeah, just over 2 feet, yeah.
2 feet, okay. And then recognizing that Huntington Lane does come in at an angle.
Yeah.
Towards the front of your house, well, at the back of the house, as depicted on A1, it shows a 15-foot distance between the side yard and the edge of the proposed sunroom.
Yes,
But closer to the front of the house,
yes.
do you know what that distance is? And maybe one of the architects has one of those rulers that does this for you, but,
Yeah,
but it's more than 15, right?
it is.
And do you know approximately what that distance is at the front edge of your proposed sunroom to the side yard setback?
I don't, for what it's worth, that's why I brought this picture. I know the picture doesn't give a measurement, but from a visual standpoint, if you look at Exhibit A2 is what I was referring to, it's significantly wider than 15 feet.
It looks on this chart like it's maybe not quite double, but almost.
Yeah, I was gonna say something in the 20s seems reasonable.
Yeah, okay. So in your backyard,
Yes.
to Bob's question, it appears on here that there's your stormwater infiltration
Yes.
basin that you've installed in your own
Yeah, I forgot to
property.
mention that, sorry. There's a stormwater
Yeah.
management system as well.
And obviously that limits any ability to go backwards.
Yes,
So based upon the building envelope depicted on this A1, page A1, it seems like if you were to put this same room almost anywhere else, you'd either be absorbing your existing driveway, or you'd be in a side yard or rear yard setback,
Setback,
or
yes.
you'd be over your stormwater facility, is that correct?
that's correct.
Okay, and this is a one-story addition or a two-story addition?
1 story.
One story. And somewhere in the materials, you mentioned a fireplace. Would that simply be sharing the existing fireplace on the house?
It would be a new fireplace.
And where would that be? On this side of the house? Would that be projecting into the side yard even further?
No, it'd be part of this, if you look at Exhibit A1, if you look really closely, there's almost looks like a double line. So it would protrude maybe 8 inches. It's
In
part
which-
of, it's
in
part
which
of the
direction?
wall. Towards Huntington.
Towards Shawnee or Huntington? Oh, I see. Okay, so it's towards Huntington Lane.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. And then in this, currently the porch, this water from the porch roof, are you going to, well, let me ask one question. Are you going to replicate essentially the porch roof that you currently have now, same slope? And albeit it will be wider, I get that.
Yes, same height, similar shape. It kind of comes at 2 angles, but it would drain into the same infiltration bed that all the water in the back goes to.
So the current roof over the or over the porch drains into your stormwater management system?
Into the retention
Through an
system.
underground pipe?
Yes,
And the new one would, any downspouts or gutters would be tied into that and go into the stormwater
Yes.
management?
that's correct.
Okay, thanks, that's all I have.
Okay, thank you.
Ed?
Could you testify what the secondary front yard setback is required to be?
Yes, the secondary front yard setback,
And that's on Huntington, I'm sorry.
yes, Huntington is our secondary, is 30 feet.
So you're gonna cut that in half.
Well, we're already into it. We're already non-conforming with the existing placement of the side yard, but yes,
Yeah, the dimension that you're going, extending beyond the existing porch, how far?
approximately 6 feet.
No other questions?
Thank you.
Jessica?
Looks like you have an existing patio a little bit south of your covered porch.
Yes.
Was any consideration given to putting a covered porch or sunroom in that area?
No. So we have French door, like doors. That's where the kitchen table is. And then we have a window into our dining room. Then we have a staircase and an existing roof, so it wouldn't,
So functionally, that
Functionally wouldn't
spot
work
doesn't
for
work.
the- yeah.
Thank you. And would you accept a condition that, I guess, never mind, I'll ignore that question. I'm done. That's all I have.
Anything else, Jesse?
Yes, on A1, what's labeled as existing addition, was that an addition that you put on, or was that the addition there when you purchased the house?
that's an addition that we put on.
And how long ago was that?
That was in 2014.
And what, could you describe is that a one-story addition or a two-story?
So that's a 2-story addition, so it's a family room and then a master bedroom.
Family room on the first floor and a master bedroom upstairs?
Yes.
Okay. Could you describe the materiality of the proposed sunroom?
So it's gonna have a concrete floor with, is the flooring, a bluestone floor? And
You have the answer, Sean.
hardy siding.
Unless I swear you.
No.
You're welcome to come join us.
Yeah, hardy siding, and then some kind of decorative stone on the bottom to match. If you look at Exhibit A2, it'll match the field stone on our existing house.
And the roofing?
It'll match the existing. Right now we have black aluminum, black metal, and it'll be the same material.
So in general, your intention is, and I believe it's in your letters, that you're going to match the character of the house and the character of the neighborhood?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And we didn't have our neighbors come, but we spoke with the 3 neighbors. So we have the Beans directly across from us, the Anglers to the front right of us, and the Kuppermans to the left, as well as Tony Langhetti behind us, and then the Klein family to the left about this. They're all, and they had no problems.
Okay. Yeah. So you've reviewed your proposed plans with your neighbors, and they're all generally in favor.
Yes.
Has anybody shown any kind of opposition or reservation?
No.
Did you again testify as to the need for the 6 additional feet beyond the 9 that's there now?
Yeah, so the existing size of the room doesn't allow for a sofa, couch, and safe access within the room with respect to the fireplace or rug. So this is sort of the minimum size we need to have a reasonably usable room, a reasonable use of the room.
And is it mostly to do because you intend to put a fireplace in the new addition?
I think the main intention is to have a usable, somewhere where we have a family of 5, plus actually all the people I named have been to our house. So we're just like to have people over and family, and all of our kids are young, and most of our friends' kids are young too, so.
I believe it's also somewhere else in your packet that you mentioned something about matching the existing bushes that are there. Could you describe that? Or dimensionally, you were building out to take up the same spaces.
Oh, yeah. So it's kind of hard to see in this picture. I have another one that I'm happy to kind of share. I don't know if it's officially allowable. But if you sort of look at Exhibit A2, you can sort of make out some bushes in front of the room. We're essentially going not all the way to the end of those bushes, but 3/4 of the way to that bush and then kind of cutting back. So it really wouldn't, I guess, visually, you'd still have a corridor of space, you'd have a corridor of air, a corridor of light. You wouldn't be imposing shadows on any neighbors. It would just, come out to the minimal size to use the room.
And it also looks like there's a good amount of vegetation along Huntington,
Yes.
and that is going to remain.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
So that'll essentially act as a bit of a buffer.
Absolutely.
And there's a fence depicted in A2. Are there
Yes.
any changes to that fence?
We'll remove a couple sections of the fence, and the fence was actually we submitted plans for it. We put that in, so it's a conforming legal fence.
Okay. And so you're only going to remove a portion as needed to put in the proposed addition?
Yes, yes.
I have no other questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Ed?
No other.
Jess?
No.
Bill? Yep. Jesse, you're good? Is there anything you'd like to add, Sean?
No, I appreciate the time. And if there's any other questions I can answer, I'd be happy to.
With that, I'll ask if there's anyone present that received certified mail that wishes to testify, anyone present that received regular mail, any other residents of Haverford Township. I have to do it for the record. With that, we'll close the record on this case, and the decision will either be rendered this evening, or in the event we're not able to do a decision this evening, one would be rendered at our next regularly scheduled meeting on November 18th. So we'll close the record on this case. And you guys want to chat for a couple minutes, and then we'll do a decision? Good. So we're going to knock them out. We'll resume the meeting of the Haverford Township Zoning Hearing Board of Thursday, November 4th, 2021. With respect to case Z21-28, 2320 Haverford Avenue, LLC. I won't read the rest of the description into the record unless someone specifically requests that I do so. Jessica, are you prepared to vote?
I am.
Ed?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Jesse?
Yes.
And so am I. Jesse, would you please take that decision?
Yes, with pleasure. In regards to case Z21-28, I would vote to approve the application with the following conditions. Number one, no group events will be held on the premises. Number two, no more than 10 employees and no more than 5 non-employees on site at any one time. Number three, no deliveries by vehicles larger than a 20-foot box truck will be permitted. Number four, all conditions set forth in any prior orders shall remain in effect unless superseded by this decision. Number five, the use of the building shall be limited to an e-commerce art sales. Number six, storage shall not be visible from the exterior of the building. Number seven, the project shall be completed within 1 year and in accordance with the notes of testimony.
Bill?
I agree.
Jessica?
I agree.
Ed?
I concur.
So do I. That application is approved with those conditions, 5-0. With regard to case Z21-29, Sean and Kimberly Patel. I won't read the rest of the description into the record unless someone specifically requests that I do so. Jessica, are you prepared to vote?
I am.
Ed?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Jesse?
Yes.
And so am I. Ed, would you please take that decision?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I move to approve the requested variance with the following conditions. One, that everything be constructed according to notes of testimony. Two, that stormwater gutters will be piped into the existing stormwater infiltration facility. Three, to be completed within 1 year of final approval.
Jessica?
I disagree.
Bill?
I agree.
Jesse?
I agree.
So do I. That application is approved 4-1 with those conditions. Any other administrative matters? Ed, do you have minutes?
Yes, we do have minutes.
Ed?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the minutes as they were distributed to the members of the board.
I'll second that.
What were the dates of those?
September 2nd, September 9, October 7, and October 21. The ones that were initially circulated had a typographical error that Jessica advised me of. That's been changed and will be provided to Margie.
Okay. Ed, your motion stands?
Yes.
Jess, your second stands?
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The minutes are moved. Any other administrative matters? Anything we need to discuss? Okay, thanks, everybody. Great job, as always. We are adjourned.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thanks, Marsh. Appreciate it. Thank you. Thanks a lot. I appreciate it.
See you guys.